Hello, my name is Omar Ramsad. It is February 10th, 2018 at 12 p.m. in Toronto. And I'm going to talk a little bit about women and human rights in general, and how human rights are violated by being targeted. Um, Community targeting is uh, is exactly what uh, it's called. The community targets you. Um, I am being targeted in the area in which I live, um, because somebody I'm suspecting signed an affidavit years ago, which started this whole thing going and had me flagged in the process. The affidavit I'm suspecting stated that he suspected I was a prostitute, so he had me flagged and monitored by the authorities, and this is where the whole thing started. Of course, I never was, and still not. Um, there is I believe, I'm suspecting there is a trafficking ring that's operating within the community, and this ring chooses people, trains them in the process of recruiting, and then sells remotely and physically. Remotely by hooking up your unit to the net and selling a password. Um, Human rights. Let's get back to human rights. This is my circumstances here. Now, let's talk about generally how human rights are being violated by anyone who's targeted this way. So, number one, targeting by the community involves no privacy. So, your privacy is taken away, which means that you're being looked at inside of your home. And everything you do and say inside of your home, bathroom, bedrooms, and so on, and of course, publicly, anywhere you are, is being, number one, is being observed, actively observed. And number two is being recorded. A gross violation of human rights, privacy rights. Um, the act of being put under glass, constantly being surveilled, amounts to false imprisonment, because this is what happens in prison. You are in a cell and you're surrounded by cameras and guards, and you're constantly under surveillance. And if you behave against the rules, if you're acting up again and do something, acting up, quote unquote, and do something that's against the rules, then of course you're disciplined. So the same scenario is duplicated inside people's homes. So you're put under glass, you're looked at, observed 24/7, and let's extend the disciplining to remote disciplining with things like lasers and so on. In a prison system, somebody will physically come in and discipline you. However, that's done in a prison system, because would have observed you doing something that you're not supposed to do. Now, in the covert system, you're disciplined remotely. Now, I'm sure you can imagine that traffickers who are recruiting and training are going to use, since it's illegal activity to traffic, will use covert means to keep their new quote unquote recruit in line. And they will use lasers and microwaves. What I should say is lasers and microwave technology to do the disciplining, because these technologies are hard to trace and track back to who's doing it if you don't have the proper equipment. And number two, that's the first reason. And number two, um, this is not this sort of assaults are not spoken about widely and openly, although it's changing. That's changing. And it's hard to prosecute. I mean, how do you prove, number one, who's doing it? And you need in some instances, you need a lot of money to get the right equipment to take it to court. Because in order to take it to court, you need specific information. You have to be quite specific and clear. Hard to prove without having very expensive equipment to do so. So again, human rights, gross violation of human rights, because what this whole thing amounts to is false imprisonment. So another way your human right is violated is in the process of being targeted, your your the goals, I should say, of the target of life, liberty, pursuing life, liberty, and happiness. In other words, getting a good job, keeping your reputation clean, um, um, getting new relationships on board, and keeping the relationship on a positive note. All these things are taken away from you because every single thing you do and say is being recorded, and the people you make contact with is given a version of a file that is manipulated to make you look as some sort of a criminal. Infiltration. Everything you're involved in, socially, family, relationships, work, these things are infiltrated and manipulated to destroy your pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness, which is a constitutional right as well. So that too is violated. But your right to pursue happiness and your right to life itself, which is a human right, of course, is being violated by being targeted this way. So these are just three ways that human rights are violated. There are numerous other ways. And in addition to the to human rights being violated, a lot of laws are broken by perpetrators and not prosecuted. It seems, but the target will be prosecuted because the person is a target. Also, there seemed to be a guinea pig effect here because once you're a target and your name is on this targeting list, it would seem that everything and anything could be done to you. All sorts of research could be done using your body, using your brain, and nothing will be done about it. The guinea pig effect. Gross violation of human rights. Actually, the methods of research that's done on a quote unquote guinea pig amounts to declaring warfare, declaring war on the person. So these violations of the law by the perpetrators could be considered war crimes as well, not only human rights violations. So some of the many ways that a target is violated. Um, in my case, I do believe the major thrust of the targeting in the area in which I live is to recruit me as a prostitute. But keep in mind, this is this is a very strange way of going about it. And this way is, first of all, the rumor is spread that you are a prostitute. But then um, what is really taking place is that you're being recruited as one and trained as one. But the rumor that you already is a prostitute, was a prostitute at some point in the past, um, is spread while the process of training is going on. So that's contradictory in itself. So if you used to be a prostitute, there would be no training involved. Why would you be recruited if you used to be a prostitute? Number one, you would need no recruitment because you already are. And number two, you'd need no training because you already are. You you would not need to be harassed, coerced, blackmailed into becoming one. So this is very contradictory, and it states and it shows very clearly that the person is not a prostitute. However, the harassment campaign is a recruitment process. It's actually a way of recruiting and selling. Talk to you another time.